Thank you so much. Someone said that she's really happy about this program. I think she's Chidera. So this is the first time she got to know about Google Colab. Chidera, that's a good one. Thank you so much for that feedback. We appreciate you. We hope you use it. We are still waiting for questions. We are still waiting for any issue to address before Dr. Peter can come in. Hello, participants. Are you all doing well? If you are doing great, just give me a thumbs up. Just do that. I'll be happy to receive that. If you think you're okay so far, just give thumbs up, okay? Participants, we are all waiting for you. Yes, you're doing great. I can see that. Good. Good, good. God bless you all. Good, 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 good. So we can carry on now. I can see you're doing great. I can see you're doing great. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So we believe we are good to go now. We are good to go. I think at this point, I want to hand over to Dr. Peter. Dr. Peter, over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ibiachu Chinagorom. Thank you for, helping us to coordinate the meeting. So welcome again, everybody. I would like to say congratulations for being here. If you have joined the last two sessions or watched them on, YouTube, you start writing Python, of course. That's what it means. Someone said that I never heard of Google Colab before now. Now you know Google Colab. So because there's so much to unpack today, let me share my screen so that we can just go ahead and see how far we are able to cover. If you can see my screen, please let me know. If you can see my screen, please let me know.
Definitely, your screen is audible, sir.
Brilliant, brilliant, fantastic. So what I did was to create a new window. You can see that my window is blank. The idea is that there might be people who are joining today for the first time, and there might be people who have been struggling with a few things. So I want to ensure that you're able to get the gist of how we got to where we were last week and how we are going to progress. So what we said about coding in Python was that we could use several platforms, but we decided to use an online platform called Google Colab. So typically what we do is we open our browser and then type Google Colab. So once again, you are going to type Google Colab so that you can create an additional file. The good thing about this Google Colab, or one of the good benefits of using Google Colab, is that you discover that the notes that you have made already are on your Google Drive. So you have evidence or proof of work, unlike when it is on your laptop or your desktop. So once you get this first page, you click on that website and it takes you here. Okay? So there is need for you to, engage with these tabs so that you can see the beautiful things that this platform offers. So I'm going to open a new notebook and I want you to do the same. Okay? So we'll open a new notebook and then we rename the notebook. We want to name it something like week 3. Okay? So what did we say about naming? We said that in your own case, you might not have untitled up to 43. Whatever number you have, just highlight it and change it to week 3. But please ensure that this extension is still there. Okay? IPYNB. Leaving that there helps us to achieve a lot of stuff. Moving forward, we said this notebook can enable us to code and also write text. So I want to begin by writing text. So I will go to this you know, icon and click on text. When you click on text, it gives you this interface where whatever you write here is going to be shown on the other side. Okay, good. The other thing is I can move this cell upwards by using this arrow. So why did I come here? I just want to show you the concepts that we are going to look at today. So today we are going to look at conditionals. That's the first thing. And we are going to prioritize quality over quantity. What do I mean by that? We are going to take our time so that whatever we do, we ensure that everybody is able to replicate it. If we're able to do enough, good. If not, let's ensure that that little that we have done, everybody understands it. After conditionals, we'll look at functions. These two concepts are fundamental in programming. When you want to distinguish between programming and coding, these are some of the concepts that you can use to distinguish between them. So in my own words, coding is just about having scripts and then running them to solve a particular problem. But programming is about problem solving. So in trying to solve problems, there will be, there's a lot of uncertainty in the world. So there are different conditions that you find yourself in. So in solving a problem, if you want to evaluate the different situations, then you can use conditionals. Also, as you solve problems with tools. And then you can create some of those tools by yourself. Either though we have seen some functions like the print function. Remember we said if you write print and we do 2 + 4, what will happen here is that the program will go and evaluate what is inside the parentheses, get the result, and then it will bring an output which you can see. It will in fact print it. So if I run this line of code, it is not going to print for me 2 + 4. It's going to evaluate what is inside the parentheses and then produce the outcome, which is 6. So that should be easy. Going back to this cell that I talked about, I'm saying if we're able to understand conditionals and understand functions, then we've really done well. Because when you have several functions, they can make up a library, and the library can make up a package, and so on. So it's one of the fundamental building blocks in programming, not just in Python. If we're able to do functions and that's where we stop, that would be okay. Okay, but I wish that we can introduce some libraries, okay, and then return to neural data analysis. This is the itinerary for today. Then Prof is going to show us the LIF neuron, the leaky integrate fire neuron. So I don't know, can you all hear me as I proceed?
Yes, please.
Yes, we are getting you.
Nice. So talking about conditionals, we are referring to a situation where you need to make decisions. So in our earlier lectures, we talked about using hashtags to make comments. So I'm going to write conditionals here. And your Python is not going to read this because it's just a comment. And that's why the color is like light green or something. So I want you to also write that in your notes. So how do we use conditionals? We use conditionals by comparing different scenarios. So let's try to create a situation where we want to find out whether a neuron will fire or not, whether a neuron has enough potential to fire. So let's create a variable. We said that when creating variables, you ensure that you don't use keywords. I cannot use print as a variable name, okay? It won't allow me because it's one of the keywords in Python. So rather than use print, I can say, okay, since I want to look at neurons, I can call these neurons, or let's just use simple words. So you notice that I've created a variable on the left-hand side, and I've also given it a value. So if I print neurons, I'll get hello. We don't need to overflog that. So let's assume that we want participants to enter the potential, of the neuron, membrane potential. We could, for instance, create an input function, which is something that we have seen before. Once you write the input function with parentheses, what it does for you is that it provides like a window, okay, where users can type in. So I can maybe give, information to the users and say, enter the membrane potential, something like that. Okay. If I run this line of code, it's going to give me this waiting window, asking me to put a value. So suppose I put the value 57 and I run it. Nothing really happens except that it writes the 57 in front of it. So now it has concatenated, it has matched it, and that doesn't look too pleasant. So what I can do is I can put a colon in front of it and create space. Okay? If you are not able to catch up with me, don't worry, you watch the videos, but make sure you understand what we are doing. What are we doing? We are trying to look at conditionals. And we are saying, as an example, we want a situation whereby we want to see if the value of a neuron is enough for it to fire. Okay? So, and I want this to be very interactive. Okay? So as we go on, if I ask questions and you feel like unmuting and answering, that will be very fine. But the challenge I have here is if I run this code and then I write RT and I press enter, it will still give me RT, which is not what I'm expecting. So I need to look for a way to control the results that I'm going to get. So I can decide to say, let's cast this into an integer. Let's make sure that what users will write will be an integer. So what have I done? Previously, we had this enter membrane potential, and then we had the input function. Now we are adding another function. So here we have like two functions in one. An inner function, which is the input, and then an outer function, which is expected to control the kind of input that the users, respond with. So if I run this line and I write my name here, it's going to give me an error message. Okay? And it will tell me that the error message is because of the kind of value that I've put in there. It goes on to tell me the line where the error is found. And if I scroll down, it probably will give me more information. It says invalid literal for int function, which is in base 10, doesn't understand how this is, an integer. So with this information, we can go back to the cell, locate this line, and then tell ourselves that since this is the problem, when next it asks for this input, we should ensure that it's a number. So I can add that as a comment, okay? I can say ensure a number, for instance. But we could have another problem. For instance, if I run that line again, and the firing rate is 45.7, for instance, if I run that line of code, it gives me another error. Why? Because what I've said here is that it should be an integer. But what I've written is not an integer. Integers are whole numbers. What I have there is as decimal points. So can anyone remind me of the data type that we should use and how to solve this problem? You can unmute and tell us how to solve this problem. How do we solve this problem? Let's go. I said I wanted this to be interactive because that way we will know if we are. Yes.
What sound is up?
Yeah. Precious, can you go? Hello, Precious.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, go on. Anybody, go on.
Sir, please can you rephrase the question?
Precious, could you unmute yourself?
Okay, so the question is, we have an error here, and it tells us that our literal is invalid. We said that we wanted an integer, but the user, has not seen our code. User doesn't know what we want there. All we just said is enter the membrane potential, okay? And then the person puts 45.7, and we have this error. And I'm now saying, how do we solve this problem? Any suggestion? Okay.
It is supposed to be solved by changing the data type to float.
Brilliant, fantastic. So what he said was that, so actually I can comment out this, okay? Okay, so that you can see what we're, I can then copy and then change the data type. That's what he said. We can change this from integer to float. When we change from integer to float, what it means is that whether it's an integer or a float, it will accept it. So if I run this line of code now, and I put back, say, 45.7, it's going to answer me and say, enter the membrane potential, and the value is 45.6. But that's just about entering in the potential. Let's now assume that we want to compare this value with a threshold, okay? Let's assume that we have a value that we think should be the rate at which there should be firing. So let's assume that we call that threshold, like I said, and then let's put that value at, say, maybe 65. Let's add a comment. Okay, so 65 millivolts. What this means is that if the firing, if the membrane potential is up to 65 millivolts, it will fire. If it is not up to 65 millivolts, then it will not fire. This is the kind of scenario where you use conditionals. So what are those conditionals? Plain English. So they come in, in either pairs or maybe as a triplet. So the first one is the if that helps us to create a statement. So we could say something like, if the value of the neuron, okay, in this case neurons, is greater than the threshold. That's why we say Python reads like English. If the value of your neuron is greater than the threshold. So for instance, if the user types in 70 millivolts, then what you should expect is it should fire. So using this if statement, Python now has a convention, a rule, that after that line, at the end of it, you put a colon. Automatically, when you press enter, the next line will not start at the same point with the if. It will move like 4 tabs forward. It is called indentation. If I go back and I don't put the colon and I press enter, what you will notice is that it aligns with the if. So what you do is once you put that colon and press enter, it gives you 4 tabs. Then we can tell it what to do. We can say print neuron spikes or something like that, okay? So what it means is that you are saying once it is greater than 65, the neuron should spike. So let's look at this and see what will happen. If I run this cell and I put, say, 67, let's run that cell. It tells me neuron spikes. Let me add an S to that. So that's the first, situation. But you might wonder, what if it is less than
Peter, please, I'm not seeing your screen.
65? You're not seeing my screen?
Yeah.
Is my screen showing? Hello?
Yes, it's
can see your
showing.
screen,
It's
sir. We
showing.
can see it.
It may be her
Okay,
network.
Okay, it's fine. It's fine now.
Okay, so let's assume that I put 34. So what will happen is that the program will go and check for the value in the neuron, compare with the value that we set as threshold, and check whether this statement is correct. It's going to compare this value here, 34, with the value 65. And apparently, this statement will not be true. So if you now press enter, nothing will happen. Why is that so? because you have not told it what to do when the value is not up to 65. So what do? We create a counterpart statement, which is the else statement. So we say else. Now with else, you don't need to, add additional comments to the expression. What you just need to do is to tell it what to do. So you can say print neuron does not spike. Neuron does not fire. So I want you to write these few lines of code and then experiment with it as I'm doing. If I click on this and it says what's the value and I say 45, if I run that, it says neuron does not spike. Okay, so if I do that again and I have 64.99999 and I do that, it says neuron does not spike. If I do that and I do -123 and I do that, it says neuron does not spike. If I do that and I do 77 and I run, it says neuron spikes. Yeah. So we are going to extend this in another example. So that's how it works. If, then else. Between if and else, there's another statement, which we are going to see in the next example. Let me just go to the class and see whether one or two people can just, give me a response to show that you understood that. Any response from anybody to give me that encouragement, because the next concept is related to it in a way. Do we have anybody who has run that code and you succeeded? Any reactions? Okay, let's keep going. So this is about conditionals. I could also demonstrate with a quick one so that we can internalize it. Let's assume that we have score. Okay, let's create a score and say let score be 70%, and we want to use this statement. So we can say if score is greater than, say, 80, okay, you can say print you got an A, for instance. Okay, but that won't work except put them in quotes. Later on, we are going to use the formatted string. Of course, you know that students will not just get above 80, they could get other scores. So we can say elif, that is else if. Okay, else if your score is greater than 70. Okay, we can say print you got a B. We can add an extra one. Okay, if your score is greater than 60, print you got a C. So why I did the second example is to show you that apart from if, there is also elif. Okay, and there can be several elifs. Usually there is only one if, though you can use more than one, but as a convention, let's just stick to there's only one if, there can be one or more elifs, and then one else. So let's assume that anybody who gets less than 60, okay, that person has not done well. So we say print, you failed. Okay, so in this particular instance, we are not asking the respondent to type in a number because we don't have an input. We already set the individual score. So if I run this code, this cell, you are going to see that it's going to give me an output that shows that the candidate had a C. So does this look correct? Should it be a C? Do you think this should be a C? Anybody? Should this be a C?
Yes, it should be a C.
Okay. What if I add this to this line of code? What do you think will happen?
When you add there that the equal signs, it means it is supposed to be greater or equal to. Then it will have to Give a B.
Brilliant. So you see, like I said, by the time you understand this control flow, these conditionals, you are able to write your program just to suit what you want to do. That's one benefit that we see here. And like I said last week, it is important for you to know those resources and to use them. One of those resources was W3 Schools. So I can actually go to W3 Schools. I can do Python. I think I can even do conditionals. Let me see. Yeah, I can do conditions. So that would take me straight to the conditionals in, Python. And then, you can actually copy this line. I'm trying to show you how to use these resources to learn. Create a new cell, put it there, and let's see if we understand this cell. A is 33, B is 200. If B is greater than A, print B is greater than A. So if I run this cell, it will say B is greater than A. Okay, so what is it that I've done? Yeah, go on. Okay, so sorry about that. Please, can you mute, please?
Can we mute, please? Who is having?
Okay, thank you. So it's off. Can you still hear me, everybody?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
Good,
can hear you.
So what I did now, to me, is one of the most important things that I could do for you. Not just to come and teach you this and show you this, but to also show you where you can get it from and how you can use it. Okay? So you can actually go to these places and then read. If I scroll down a bit, you will see the one that has if, elif, and else. Sometimes it could even be several elifs, like I said. So that's what we have here. So you could also copy this one, take it there, paste it, and then you see it working. Because you see, if you don't practice, it might be difficult for you to really, reinforce the learning. That's the word, reinforce. All right, cool. Let's leave this alone and let's talk about functions. Okay, so let's talk about functions. So far, we have seen a few functions. We have seen functions such as, so I wanted to show you this again as a reminder. If you use one hashtag before any text, it will make it very bold. If you make it double hashtag, it will reduce the size. If you make it triple, it will make it smaller. Then if you put asterisks before, double asterisks before and after, it will make it bold. But if you make it just one asterisk, what it will do is it will make it to be italicized. But you can cancel all of this. And then you can actually click on bold. And when you do that and you change this text to functions, it does the same. So I just wanted to show you some of these features because I know I wish that you engage with the videos afterwards. Okay, cool. So we want to talk about functions. In Python, there are built-in functions. An example of a built-in function is print. Another built-in function in Python that we have seen today is the input. A third one that we have seen today is the float. So how do we identify functions? We see them that they are followed by parentheses. Okay? But before you write your own function, you have to define the function. And what better way can you do that except, by using the def function, which in a way means definition. Okay? So once you write that def function, you create a space. And then let's see a function that can find the square of a number. So what we are going to do is we get a function that can find, compute the square of a number. And then we'll now relate our function to computational neuroscience. We'll take something that is in the health sciences. By the time we get to neuromatch material, it will be easy for us to, work on. So we can actually have a function like this. don't forget, whenever you have a function, you always have that bracket in front of them. So the first keyword, or so to say, to start a function is to write def, create a space, and write the name of the function. If it has a compound name, you either use underscore, okay? I can call this square numbers, okay? So inside this parenthesis, you could decide to put things inside or otherwise. The things you put in that parenthesis are called parameters. So if I put n in that bracket, or if I like, I put an x in that bracket, that x is called a parameter. I can have more than one parameter, okay? So, but because I want to square a number, I don't need to write more than one parameter. So again, I can actually call that number, okay? So what is the last thing that ends your first line of a function? Is still that same quotation, that colon. So don't forget, the keyword is def, then the name of the function. Make sure you always have a descriptive name, a name that shows what the function is doing. Then you have your parentheses, and then with or without parameters, your function will work. So one of the things that I do when I've written a function is to come down here and then call the function, because sometimes you might forget to call the function, okay? So I have a function, but down here, I've called it so that I don't forget. So this is optional at the start. So I can as well delete it, but I have it at the back of my mind. If you press enter after this colon, it does the same kind of indentation that we have when we were looking at the if statement, the elif statement, and the else statement. So when you use functions, you can use the return keyword. So we are introducing a new keyword. But before I use the return keyword, I can actually write print statement here and say multiply number by itself. If I multiply a number by itself, it's the same thing as getting the square of a number. Okay? So this is what the function does. In this first line, you are describing the function. In the second line, you are telling us what the function should do. In this case, you are saying, just print for me numbers times multiplied by numbers. If I do that, and I come down here and then call the function by writing the function, and I put a value like 3 in parentheses, if I run this block of code, it is going to give me an output, and the output will be 9. Okay? The output will be 9. But what I want to do, I want to make this elegant. I want to comment out this line for now. Okay, so I'll comment it out, okay, by putting hashtag here. It's allowed. I want to use the return keyword. So I can say return, but when I write return, I wouldn't need to put the parentheses. I can do number multiplied by number, but again, I can actually do number raised to the power of 2. What this means is that at this point, it is going to return back the number raised to the power of 2. So let's assume that I put in here 25 and I run this. It's going to give me 625, because what it sees here is that whatever number that I have here, I need to square it. Let me go up and just show you something that should be in your minds. When you are using conditionals, let me just put an S here, conditionals, you use the if and the else, or you use if, elif, one or more, and then else. Then when you are talking about functions, you start with this keyword. The most interesting thing that I want to show you today comes later. But the next, exercise is very, impressive. I thought about the best exercise to give to us so that we could use that exercise exercise in the sense that we are doing it together. So that we'll use that exercise to learn a lot of things that we have looked at in the past 3 weeks. So we are going to try to solve a problem where we will have something like use functions, use conditionals, and some of the other things that we have learned. So I don't know if you know about the body mass index, BMI. In case you do not know, this is also another important thing that I need to let you know. There is no crime in looking up those things, whether you are checking Google or you are using a large language model. It's totally acceptable. In fact, these days, when I'm asked questions, even if I know the answers, I normally say, let's even check. So let's talk about BMI, okay? Let's say BMI formula. So here we can read about the BMI. So the BMI formula is your weight divided by your height squared. This is the formula that I'm looking for. Your weight divided by your height squared. Okay? So what do? We go to our code, and then maybe we can put a comment here. I will say BMI calculator. So we are trying to create a BMI calculator such that when users come to our software, our program, and they input their weight and input their height, they're able to see their BMI value and then the interpretation. So we can go back here and then write BMI formula interpretation. Okay, those things they're always there. Okay, so BMI interpretation. I could also look for the image so that will make it easy for me. So I have the image here. I can take this to a new window. Add to move to new window so that I can split my screen. This is how I learn, and I learn a lot when I split my screen. So you can split your screen and watch what I'm doing on one side. So we want to create a program that calculates body mass index. So the first thing that we need to do is the guy wants me to define a function. So I don't want to follow that. I want to first create a variable. I want to call the variable weight. Okay? And then I want that weight, because weight is numerical, is a number which can have decimal points. So I'm going to use the float function. And then inside that float function, I'll have my input. And then I can now ask the user to enter their weight. Okay? I could even go on to say in kilogram, okay? So that it will be easy for us to calculate. Okay, so we have weight in kilogram. I wish you can write this, but because our time is just, flying, I actually want us to do some very interesting things later. Let me just keep going. Then I can create another variable. I'll call that height. I will use this float function, and then I have my input, and then I can ask users to enter their height. Okay, and then we can say that this height is in meter. One of the things, or not just one thing, a lot of things that you can see when you use Colab is that it helps you, to complete your script. It also has this AI here by Gemini that can do a lot of things. Towards the end of today's program, we are going to share a file with you so that you can help us complete the survey. We are looking at what do we do next. Okay, so what have we done now? We have two variables, one that helps us to capture the weight, another one that helps us to capture the height. We can now create our own function, which we'll call BMI calculator, if you like. Okay. And then we said that when you create a function, you have your parentheses and colon. Remember, I said you start with the keyword def. But inside this, you could have parameters. So for us, there are two parameters. They are weight and height. Those are the two things that we want to capture. So how do you calculate BMI? From that calculation, I think BMI should return weight divided by height times height, or height to the power of 2. Okay, so that's what it should return. But we want to go beyond that. We want to now add a conditional. We want to say if, so we are going to be looking at, the values here. So we are going to say if the BMI is less than 18.5 colon, you see now we've added a conditional to our function. Then we can print, we could say you are underweight, or if we like, we can even use a formatted string and then say maybe F here and say you need, then we can say more food or something for now, and just say underweight, so that all that we are copying, we are just picking it from here. Now you can see that there are about six scenarios. So it means that if we are not careful, we'll replicate the 6 scenarios, but I just want us to take 2 more. So I can say elif, okay, if the BMI is less than 25, what it means is that once you have bypassed this first condition and the result is not underweight, it means that the individual is 18.5 or above. So by the time he reads the next line, he says, okay, if this person is still under 25, then we can print normal weight. So let's print normal weight. Okay. So I don't want us to have too much. So we say else, you can then print overweight. Okay. So as an assignment for you, which you can do at your own time, you can add more elifs and try all of this out. Okay. So what we are going to do at the end of this, since we already have a way of capturing the values, we will not add what we call arguments. We are not going to add arguments to this. Okay, we are just going to print BMI. So we say BMI, and then we BMI underscore calculator. That is this. This is just like copying the whole of this. So we'll copy that and we'll drop it here. And that does it. So what have we seen? We've seen the use of both function and conditionals. In these first 2 lines, we are capturing the weight and the height. In this portion, we are defining a function, okay? And inside the function, we are using conditionals. Let's run this. And let's assume that you are 100 kilograms. And let's say your height is 1.78. I don't know if this formula is really correct. So this is 31.561. So it's not telling me what I want to see. It's just giving me the value. So indeed, what one can do is to maybe rewrite this code in such a way that we will see all of this stuff. How do we do that? We can simply, pick all of this, copy it, come to a new cell, okay? When you come to a new cell, what you are going to do there is you just write the if conditionals. So when you put this here, okay, it's going to show you that there are issues. First issue is that it doesn't even know what BMI is. Okay, and it doesn't understand why all of this is like this. So as an exercise, one would have expected you to be able to correct all of this. So we are going to push this down, okay, and then go up, copy this so that we can have an idea of the first few lines. Let's copy this and then paste it below so that some of those squiggly lines will disappear. Once you start doing this, then you can now say that BMI underscore calculator is equal to, and then we can say, so what have we done? One, we've calculated the BMI. How? By using the same formula. From here, it becomes very easy for us. So if we say if BMI is less than 18.5, I can now put underscore because there's nothing like BMI. But what we actually have is BMI calculator. And then from there, everything becomes easy. You can say print underweight, elif, print normal weight, else print overweight. So with this, you don't even need any other thing. So that when you ask for the weight and somebody says I'm 78 kilograms, and you ask for the height, and the person says, let's see, 78, it's not allowing me. Sometimes you may have to refresh. 78, and then 1.67. He says the person is overweight. Let's run it again, okay, to see if we change the values, whether we are going to get a different result. If he says what's your weight, and I say I'm 120 kilograms, and he says what's your height, and I say I'm 1.2, he's going to say that I'm overweight. One more, what's your height? Your weight, say 53. What's your height? 1.9. If I run that, you're underweight. So that is one of the things that I said I was going to show us. Moving forward, if I scroll back to the top, you'll recall that what we said we were going to do was first conditionals, functions. Let's now talk about libraries. So there are, if you like, call them modules, if you like, call them packages. But for us, yeah, go on.
Sorry, before you continue,
Please
someone asked a question.
Go on.
Is there any major difference between print and return? I would
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you to address that question so that the person will be happy.
Fantastic question. That's a great question. So the difference between return and print is that when you return, you don't see the output. If you define a function and you say return, it's going to save it in the memory of the computer, but you're not going to see the output produced. So what do? We now add print. If you don't add this part of the code, maybe this is why the person got confused. If I don't add this line of code, let's say I don't add this line, let me comment this line out. And I run this line of code, there won't be any outputs. So why you have output in that code is because of this additional line. However, if I comment out this and I remove this one, okay, and then I uncomment this print, if I run this, okay, if I say print, how do I say this now? If I say df square number print number times number, and I now come here and say something like it's still the same idea, although square number. The fact is, when you use return, you don't necessarily have the number printed out, but when you use print, the number is printed out. The simple way to answer some of these questions is just to say, what, okay, and I'm doing this deliberately. What is the difference, I can't type, between print and return in Python? Okay, let's see what this says. The core difference in Python is that print is for displaying information. Okay, so this one gets an output but does not necessarily display it. Don't worry, if we have opportunity to do okay, don't worry, maybe when we get to the neural match material, I can build on that. So the answer to your question is, when you use print, you produce a display, but when you use return, it just gets the function working in simple language. Good question. Great question. So let's go to libraries now. Let's talk about libraries. So libraries are solutions that other people have written that makes life easy for you. So rather than, reinventing the wheel, you can just pick those libraries and use them. And we saw some of them last week, two of which were NumPy and Matplotlib. So what I want to do is I want to simulate neurons so that I can show you how to simulate neurons. And then and show you, the random function, and then show how we can get, the visualization of the neurons. I think that will help us before we look at the neural match material. So what am I saying? I'm talking about libraries, okay? And there are many libraries. For us, we are just looking at two today. Which libraries this guy can spell? Which libraries are we looking at? We are looking at NumPy. So last week we said you write import NumPy as NP. The goal is that rather than writing NumPy, which is long, using NP makes it sophisticated. In the same way, you even enjoy it more with the next one. Import matplot, okay, matplotlib, which is a library, .pyplot. I hope I'm correct. As PLT. I hope this is correct. Oh, I have double L here, so I need to take off one L. Okay, good. Import matplotlib.pyplot as PLT. What it means is that if you run this line of code, you no longer will have to mention NumPy again. You just use the alias, which is NP. In the same way, you don't have to write that whole long matplotlib.pyplot, but you use this PLT as a proxy. So what do we have here? If you run these two lines of code, nothing really happens. The only thing is that you have brought in NumPy and matplotlib into this instance, into this particular notebook, this week 3 notebook. Okay, so it's the same idea with return. So what happens when you do return is like creating a variable. You have it available, but when you use print, it shows you the displayed result. Okay, good. So those are the first few lines. What do we want to do with NumPy? NumPy, like we said last week, is a numerical Python library that helps you to do computation, helps you to do numerical analysis, analyze numbers and all of that. So if I create a variable and I call it my new underscore neuron, okay? So that's a variable, my new underscore neuron. And I want to get just one neuron, okay? I can then use the NumPy module or method. So when you write and you put a dot, you will discover that there are a lot of methods that are in NumPy. But the method we want to use now is the random method. What does this random method do? As the name suggests, it helps us to pick random numbers. You can see here there is a module, but can also be called a method. But it's also a function. So you say, I'm saying rubbish. Yes, of course, you are free to say that. It's a function because you can put parentheses in front of it. You see? But it's not just like a regular function because it is also possible for it to carry another method. So this time around, I want it to carry the rand method. Okay? The rand method. So what do we see in this line? First, we see that on the left-hand side, we've created a variable called new neuron, but we are not getting real neurons. We are getting synthetic neuron. so to say. We are just simulating it. So in front of this, you can put your parentheses and write the number 1. Let's run this line of code and see what this does to us. Doesn't do anything. This is like return again. What has happened is that it has taken the right-hand side and saved it into the container. So if I want to get that container, then I use the print function. So again, so that you can get that print function. When you do print new underscore neuron, and you run that line or that cell, so it's giving me an error. And I told us errors are not things we want to see, but we can learn a lot from them. We go here and say there's a problem with our name, and it says it doesn't know. Oh yes, then we put an N there. And if you run that line, it gives you this value. If you run it again, it gives you a different value. If you run it again, it gives you another one. So it's picking numbers from the normal distribution between 0 and 1. If I want it to be whole numbers, I can change this to run int. And if I make it run int and I run that, it will give me a whole number. If I run again another whole number, why is it giving me 0? It just loves 0. Okay, good. So I can say between 1 and 10. Let's run that. We run that, it gives me 2, 8, 4. So we could use this in a guessing game and all of that, but we don't have time for that today. So what we have time for today is to say, let's assume that I want 500 neurons. Okay, and I do that. It's going to give me 500 neurons. See? Python is interesting. I can make that 5,000. But let's stick with 500. So what have we done with these few lines of code? First, we have imported a library called NumPy, and we have used it. We have imported another library called matplotlib, but we now want to also use that library. How do we use that library? The matplotlib, as the name suggests, helps you to plot graphs. And there will be many graphs that matplotlib can do for you. Just to show you, we can go, let's stick with W3 schools. We can say W3 schools, Python, and then say matplotlib, for instance. And then we'll go there and check this. It has its own tutorial. And then we can go and just enjoy the tutorial. So I'm doing this again deliberately because three lectures is not enough to teach all of these things, but trying to show you resources that can help you to build your muscle when it comes to writing Python. Okay, cool. So how do we use Python? Okay, now this is looking too long, so I can actually hide it. Okay, I can hide it. So if I create a new cell and I now want to plot, from now on, I'll be using PLT. Why? Because the PLT now stands for matplotlib. If I put a dot, I will see that it's possible for me to plot the neuron, but I don't want to plot the neuron yet. I want to create like a grid where I'm going to plot the neuron. So I will use the .fig method. This .fig method, okay, now could take the size. So there is an argument, a parameter called size, which has 2 arguments, one for the length and the other for the breadth. And then I have to close those 2 parentheses. What is happening here? We are using the matplotlib library to create a figure, okay? And then we are setting the size of the figure to have a length of 10 and a breadth of 4. So if we run this, it's going to, again, back to your question on return and print. It's not exactly the same thing, but just I want that concept to really be built into our systems. So what do you have? It's not returning any output, but it's creating an object. Okay, it's creating an object and it tells us the size. Let's adjust this a bit. Let's change this to 5 and let's run this. And you see that automatically it changes. Okay, so whereas this is in meter, this perhaps could be in centimeter, whatever unit. Okay, so let's now plot our neuron. So we can say plt dot plot. We use the plot function. Let's plot the neuron. And then let's add that last line, which shows. So let me take my time. Let me not follow this prompting. Plot, plt dot plot. What are we plotting? We go back and check what have we created. We have created a variable called new neuron. So you can literally copy that and then come in here and put it inside this parenthesis. Okay, so if you run this, it will show you the plot. But if you are working in another environment that is different from Google Colab, you might need to add the plt.show function. Okay, so because we are using Google Colab, it is able to plot it out directly. So you have that. But we can add some aesthetics to it. For instance, we can say plt.title, okay, and then call this the spiking of neurons, if you like, or the activity of neurons. The activity of neurons. But you know, again, you need to talk about the vertical and horizontal axis. So we can say plt.x label. That will give us the time, and the y label the voltage. If you do this and you run, let me bring this plot show down. Let me bring this plot show down. If I run this now, you will see that we now have the title. Even though I made mistakes, it will show. It will show. So you have control over the code. So you have voltage on the vertical. If you like, you can actually say voltage in, if you like, millivolts. You know, and it will definitely show you. So it's a wonder. You can add other forms of aesthetics, and then you will enjoy some of these things. Okay, so we are not going to talk about any other library again today. I have 10 minutes to the end of my presentation. Prof, please bear with me. Okay, so let me go back and show you what we have seen. We have seen conditionals, we have seen functions, we've talked about libraries, and we have done a bit of neural analysis. How? We're able to use NumPy to generate synthetic data, or what you can call simulated data. Let's use the appropriate word. And then we've done a bit of visualization. But that's not rich enough. So what is rich enough? Neuromatch Academy. So we'll go to Neuromatch Academy. Neuromatch Academy. And then we do Computational Neuroscience. Computational Neuroscience. By the way, I sent a mail to us, and in that mail, I tried to clarify a few things. I said that we are not directly being supported by Neuromatch. It's not as if we are being funded, all of that. It's not as if they are directly involved. I work with Neuromatch Academy, but we are using their resources, their materials. And it's not just computational neuroscience that they do, okay? We can actually do, let me show you another thing, Neuromatch Academy, computational tools for climate science. And I will want you to help us with these adverts, okay? Because of some legislation made by America and our friend Donald Trump, the issue of climate is not as buoyant as it used to be, and is having effects globally. This course is so amazing. If you have anybody in the climate sciences, if they can attend this course in July, it's a wonderful course. Why do I say so? Because I've also participated in reviewing the materials. I said I was going to show you this, that I helped in reviewing, which week was that? So let's see AI and climate change. Let's see extreme weather and what was that thing? Just a moment. Maybe here. Okay. These are materials that you cannot complete in a year. If you are a member of faculty anywhere and you have any way of influencing the kind of things that your students are exposed to, it would be a wonderful thing for you to come to, platforms such as this. Maybe I don't need to show you some of those things because I also participated in reviewing some of this material. So I have first-hand experience. I can tell you how good these materials are. By the time you engage with them and you see what I'm saying, I will advise that if you have anybody who wants to improve their career, and be set apart from other people to attend the school. We don't just have climate academy and all of that. We have a lot of stuff. However, there isn't much time, so much to say. Let's come back to our computational neuroscience, and then let me show you how I want you to interact with this material. I have about 5 minutes left. I've said this before, that when you get here to the summer school, you're supposed to start from introduction to modeling. Day 1, week 1, you'll be looking at modeling. So what it means is that you're expected to know some statistics, some calculus, some algebra, a lot of Python. Nobody comes to the academy to teach you Python, okay? And that's why we are trying to cover that gap. The first lecture in the workshop is the leaky integrate fire neuron, which Prof is going to take very soon as I round off. But I want you to know that you have to open this either in Colab or in Kaggle. When you have done that, there is a need for you to make a copy for yourself in your drive. If you don't do that, the session that you are currently on will not be saved, and you will lose whatever work you might have done. I just want to show you an exercise, which is usually the major problem that participants have when they come for the summer school. I'm not just a teaching assistant. Last time I was a lead teaching assistant, so I was able to oversee a lot of pods, groups, okay? And I can tell you for sure that people get discouraged because they don't have this Python skill. And there's so much that you benefit when you attend this program. So if people are going to struggle because they don't have Python skills, why not let us do something about that? So what do we normally say? We say that at the start, you are supposed to, do some setups and then run all those cells, because if you don't run those initial cells, by the time you want to use them in the latter part of the lecture, you might find it very difficult. These lectures are usually for about 8 hours with maybe 1.5 hours break. It is the morning session for tutorials and the evening session for afternoon session for projects. So you earn 2 certificates. 1 certificate for attending the lectures and learning the concept. There's also the other certificate, which is that you have completed a project. In some cases, you are encouraged to what's it called now? You are expected to present your group project if you so wish, so that you could use it in what we call the Impact Scholars Program. What we are saying is that there are some groups who, after the summer school, also want to build their project so that they could be published. And there are organizations that partner with Neuromatch Academy, who provide resources for carrying out those research. So if you are in the summer school and you are in a group where your project is such that your group mates want to, publish, then you have opportunity to have a 6-month program where resources are provided and able to network with people and you come up with publications that can actually affect humanity. So I will encourage you to watch the videos, okay? And I remember that last week we did the first exercise. What was the first exercise about? We saw this membrane equation, and then after some time we wanted to create variables for them. And then the variables were commented And then we said that what do we do when variables are commented? We said we uncomment them. So the first exercise, the coding exercise in Neuromatch Academy, if you are attending the Computational Neuroscience course, is this exercise. Okay, it's not just the Computational Neuroscience course that we have, but this first exercise is so easy, and all you need to do is to uncomment all of this. So one way to uncomment everything is you can capture everything and then use Control /. If you do Control A, you pick everything there. If you do Control and you hold it down, or Command in Mac, and you do /, everything will be commented out. If you repeat it, they will be uncommented. If I run this, it's going to capture all those values and reproduce all of this. As I conclude, I want to say that this is where it gets most difficult. When you now have a mathematical equation, and then you need to use this mathematical equation, to reproduce it in code form. So what do I want to do? I want to duplicate this page. That's one. I want to take that page to a new window. Okay. And I then want to put my windows side by side. Why am I doing that? I want to see this equation, and I want to replicate the equation in Python code. So what do? We have here a loop, a for loop. I told you about for loop last time. And then we computed t by multiplying the step by the derivative of t. When you read this on your own, you'll be able to see some of these things that I'm saying. So what do we expect to do in this exercise? We are expected to fill up this blank space, compute value of I at this time step. This is I here. I of t is I, as you must have seen in the last exercise, or you can see later. So we want to compute this I, and then we have to write this equation using Python code. So the first thing is we have I mean. We've already seen I mean, but the way it was written was I underscore mean. Okay, so let me show that is this. So you can actually come up here and copy I underscore mean and then move it there. But I won't be doing that. Rather, what I will do is to go to that space and then fill it in myself. So I will have I underscore mean. That takes care of this first part of the expression. And then I will now have parentheses, big brackets. And then inside that bracket, I have the number 1. I'll write 1. Okay, but the problem now is this thing is actually multiplying the bracket. So here, I'm going to add asterisks. Okay, so what it means is that if I want to get I will get I underscore mean multiplied by bracket 1 plus. I move on. Then it says I need the sign, but I can't use sign directly. I have to call it from the NumPy function. That's why we imported NumPy. So we'll use NumPy and then, call the sign method. After that, there's a bracket. I don't know, let me make this bigger a bit so that I can see what I'm doing. Cool. So we can go on. So where is this now? Where is the expression now? Prof, sorry, I'll be done. Oh no, where is that equation? I can't find the equation anymore. Wow, let me make it bigger again. Wow, just a few seconds now. Why can't I find it anymore?
Okay, you have to go.
Wow, I can't find it again. I actually want to. I have to go up, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
It's already simulated here. Go up.
Yeah, so you have sign bracket. Okay, I actually know the equation, so let me just go on now, right? And then we have where are we? Sign bracket 2 multiplied by pi. Okay, but we can't use pi. We use np.pi, and then we multiply that by is it t? And then we divide that by 0.01. Okay, /0.01. So you can actually watch the video. Then you run that, and at the end of the day, it produces the same outputs as what we have here. I wish you all the best. I wish I could do more than this, but at this point, I have to hand over to Prof. Prof, back to you.
Wow, 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 wow. That's great, Dr. Peter. Really appreciate you. Can we appreciate Dr. Peter? We don't have time again. Let's appreciate Dr. Peter. Was so detailed. Appreciate Dr. Peter. For those of you going for computational neuroscience summer school, you're going to enjoy this program. You're good to go. I appreciate him. That's a wonderful job he has done for us. Thank you so much, Dr. Peter. Let's not waste time again. Let's invite Professor Olayinka, please. Prof, yeah, over to you, sir. Professor Olayinka?
Yes, thank you.
Hello, Prof. Oh.
Yes, I'm here.
Prof, you're welcome.
Thank you very much. Okay. Good evening, everyone, once again. Good morning, good night, wherever and whichever part of the world you are joining from. I think we can appreciate Dr. Peter one more time for that detailed presentation. That was quite very, very dirty. I think you can release some emojis to appreciate him. If you feel like, you may drop one or two comments on our charts. So just say a very big thank you to him for the wonderful job he has done. So I'm going to share my screen very quickly, and this time around, we don't have the time, okay? And I have a lot to say, but I'm going to try as much as possible to pass as much information as possible across within the time frame available. So let me hope I'll be able to do justice to my presentation in less than 30 minutes, or maybe a little around that time. So very quickly, I'm going to share my screen, and I'll be talking on liquefy and integrate model. It has been mentioned, and Dr. Peter in his presentation has made a lot of reference to these concepts. He has also even gone ahead to show us the resources that are available at our disposal at Neuromatch Academy. So we can actually leverage on all of that to be able to understand the concept I will be passing across today. Okay, like I said, the model I will be talking on is leaky, integrate, and fire model. And I want to believe sincerely that we can see my screen. If you can see my screen, you can just give me a thumb up and that will be fine. Okay. Now, I've adapted this lecture from the presentation I made at Biologists in Damaturu sometimes in July on this same topic. And towards the end of this presentation, you will see the link where you can access the original material from my GitHub account. I will also show you a link where you can actually get the link to actually engage with a Python notebook that goes along with the work that I will be showing you in this place. So very quickly, now, if you assume your brain is actually a computer, how many processing units? This time around, I'm referring to neurons. Do you really think it has? I have about 4 options here. So you can just quickly maybe do a little bit of vote on the charts. I'll pick the very first few ones. If your brain were to be considered as a computer, okay, how many neurons or processing unit do you think your brain has? Okay, I know this has been mentioned in the course of a discussion in this last 3 weeks. So I just want to say, okay, somebody said C, okay, C is the answer, okay. I'm having C from about 3 persons. Of course, C is the correct answer. Human brain contains approximately about 86 billions of neurons. And if you look at this number, that is quite a very huge numbers, okay? And all of these neurons are interconnected together, and then sending signals from one neuron to another to be able to actually coordinate human cognition and activity that are carried out on a daily basis. Okay, so it's quite a lot when you talk about human brain and then the basic component that makes up that. Okay, now if you look at this number, it can be compared to the number of stars we have in what people refer to as the Milky Way. And the fascinating part of this is that you don't have to simulate all the 86 billions of neurons to actually be able to bring out some intuition from the brain logic. Okay, so we don't have to simulate 86 billions of neurons before we can have a clear understanding of how brain works. Okay, simulating just one or a few tens of it or a few hundreds of it can actually give you an idea of how brain work. Okay, we can also make use of the models as simple as the one we are looking at today, Lake, Integrate, and Fire, to actually discover how some of these functions are interrelated and how they actually function within the human brain. Okay, now in this presentation, I'll be looking at four basic models. And the first one is the passive membrane model. The second one is the integrate and fire model. The third one is the leaky, integrate, and fire, which is the main one we're looking at. And then generally, I will look at GLI, that's a generalized leaky, integrate, and fire model. Don't look at them as four different heavy models. They are all interrelated. And you need to pay close attention to the foundational model, which is the passive membrane model. But before I go into my model, let's look at what human brain looks like. You can see the image of human brain right on the screen. And from that image we have on the screen, you can see very clearly that we have different parts of human brain, and different parts of human brain are actually responsible for different human function. Okay, so different parts of human brain performs different functions. So you can look at somebody that will say, oh, I'm interested in maybe frontal lobe alone. Okay, somebody might say mine is olfactory bulb. That is the area of the brain I'm interested in concentrating my simulation experience on. These are different parts of the brain that can actually be looked at from the simulation part of view or from the modeling part of view and try to understand how it works. Okay, now talking about human brain, we have input and output concepts that comes to play when you're looking at human brain. Input and output, the same thing you have in your computer. You have the input, you have the process, and you have the output. And if you look at this figure we have there, that this figure is taken from the Biological Psychology, the 5th edition of the book. Okay, if you look at it, you can see the time for the response time of each of different parts of the human brain. Okay, you have, for instance, for the prefrontal cortex, you have 145 milliseconds. What is even a millisecond? For those of you who are not probably coming from a deep mathematical background, a second, 1 second is made up of 1,000 milliseconds. And I believe you know, 60 seconds is what makes a minute. A minute. And then if you put 60 minutes together, that makes an hour. So you can relate to this time in terms of time. So when we are talking about 1 milliseconds, we are talking about what? A seconds divided by 1,000, which will give us 0.001 seconds. What a fragmented portion of time. Okay, so small, so insignificant that you may not be able to even record that time physically from any clock around you, except for specialized time. Okay, now how about the conversion time? Okay, the conversion, for instance, if you have 500 milliseconds, that invariably will give us 0.5 seconds. And so you can relate it to the response time of different parts of human brain that we have in this image. Okay, the response time. Okay, now why are these very important? Input and output. Okay, for instance, let's pick visual cortex, for instance. For basic vision, there is a time lag of 55 milliseconds. Okay, if you want to go into detail of being able to see the time details of the vision, then you talk about maybe 75 milliseconds. You know, basic vision, for instance, somebody will be showing you a note at a distance and say, oh, let me see. Okay, you have seen, of course, it's handwriting you're seeing on the note, but you might need to get closer and pay a little more attention for you to be able to read. That is the time. And then by the time you want to begin to talk about the version 4 of the visual cortex, you'll be talking about 85 milliseconds of time. And then you also be talking about what? The colors and the shape identification. that is the time for response. And for other ones, we also have the whole of that. So, for instance, from the point of seeing to the point of being able to respond as in action now, you have about a total of 250 milliseconds, okay? Which is what? Which is just like 1/4 of what? Of 1 of a seconds. So for instance, I want to press A on my computer now. I've seen A that I want to press, and I want to replicate that. I need a fraction of what? A second. That is 1/4 fraction of a second to be able to get that timing after seeing and then being able to respond and press it. Okay, now this is a bigger picture of human brains from the same book I mentioned earlier. And then you can see all of the different parts of the functionality of human brain and then what and each of them are doing. Now, coming back to neuron, what is neuron? Neuron, okay? Remember we have said earlier that human brain consists of what? Approximately 86 billions of neurons, quite an enormous number, okay? Now, what is a neuron? We are looking at one now because we are not modeling all of them. We are starting from the basic and the simplest modeling, okay? And this time around, we are looking at neuron, the smallest, just one out of the 86 billion.
Hello, Prof.
Hello, Prof.
Yeah, I lost him. Disconnected.
Now,
Prof.
I think
Let's.
he's
am I
back.
back online?
Yes,
Okay,
Prof.
you're back
You're
now.
back. You're back now. Yeah. Hello, Prof. Hello, Prof.
He got disconnected again.
Okay. Prof is going to join us. As we, wait for him, you can check your inbox. In your inbox, you will see a post-course survey. You can, help us to attend to that survey as while we wait for Prof. Additionally, I can paste the link in the chat. Okay. Just go help us fill this form. Can you see the? Can
Hello,
you
am I
see
back
the?
online?
Yeah, Prof. Welcome back. Yes, we can hear you now. Prof.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. So share your screen again. Share your screen. Prof, can you hear me? Well, while we wait for Prof, just a quick one. Did we see the link that I put in the platform, Dr. Ibe?
Sir, yes, the link is here.
Yeah. And if you check your inbox, you also find the link there, so that you can help us.
Hello, am I back online now?
Yes, Prof, you are
Prof, you're
back.
back, so you can go ahead and share your screen.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I don't know the point when I got disconnected. I don't really know what was happening.
Just go on, Prof.
Okay, thank you. Now, I was trying to define what a neuron is. Okay, now.
Prof, we are waiting for a screen. Hello, Prof. We're waiting for a screen. So, participant, let's take this interlude to fill out our forms, please. We need your feedback. We need thank you, Jeffrey and Heritage. Is it possible for us to attach that form to the YouTube? Jeffrey?
Yes, definitely, sir.
Okay, nice. By the way, as we wait for Prof, if we have any comments, any questions, you can unmute yourself and engage with us.
Please, if you have questions, go ahead and ask Dr. Peter now.
Yeah. Yes, please go ahead. So Prof apparently has some network issues, and so please, let's use this time to fill out the form. Let's use this time to fill out that form. Okay, so let me just feel. Can you hear me, everyone? Can you hear me?
Yeah, Prof is back. Prof is back.
Prof is back. Prof.
Okay, thank you. I hope I won't
Yeah.
get disconnected again. I didn't really know what is actually happening.
Yeah. Welcome
I
back,
get
Prof.
connected and I get disconnected. I don't really know what is happening. Please, our technical team, please check what is happening at that end, because I think I have good internet where I am. So I'm really surprised at this disconnection. Please, sorry for the interruption. Now, I was trying to define what a neuron is. It's a specialized cell in the nervous system and is responsible for receiving. Please take note of these important 3 words: receiving, processing, and transmitting information. Okay? So, like your computer definition, computer is defined, every computer has inputs, it has a processing, and it has an output. So that is what human neuron, the neuron in human brain actually consists of. It receives, it processes, and it also transmits information. Now, this time around, the information are transmitted through electrical and chemical signals. So you're going to see that very shortly, even as I go on. Now, this is a simulated diagram of what a neuron is that I did, okay? You have the dendrite here, which serve as the input, okay, to the neuron. And at this other hand by the right, you have your axon terminals, which serves as the output, okay? And the flow of signal is usually from the dendrite to the what? To the axon terminal, okay? Now, in between that, you have the soma, which is the cell body, and you have the axon itself, okay? Let's just take note of those basic points. Okay, then let me also tell you what is computational neuroscience. I believe it has been defined and it has actually been discussed over and over again. When we talk about computational neuroscience, it's not limited, it's not restricted to a particular field, okay? You have the dynamical system, people in mathematics, physics, and then algebra and the rest of it, they come together to fill that vacuum. You have the neuroscience, then you have the artificial neural networks. All of this comes together from different multidisciplinary domain to actually form what is referred known as what? Computational neuroscience. Then what is model? Because we are looking at LIF model, leaking, integrate, and fire model. That is what we are looking at. So what is LIF model? What are models generally? And why do we need models? Okay. Now, first of all, if you look at the set of cap I have here, I believe if you're familiar with Nigerian culture, for instance, you will agree with me that this particular one is associated with the Yoruba tribe. The first 2, okay? If you come to this, you can associate with a particular tribe. If you come to this place, you will say, oh, this is from Igbo, okay? And if you look at this, oh, this is from Kanuri or from Fulani people. Oh, you may say this is for Hausa. Okay. Now, these are models that can be traced or identified with a particular tribe in Nigeria, okay? Now, George E.P. Box, he said, and I quote, that all models are wrong, but some are useful. At any point in time, you may not have a perfect model for anything you want to do, but definitely you may be able to draw some useful hint from every model that is created that can help you to make some explanation. So very quickly, what is passive membrane model and what are we talking about? Please pay attention to this. I'm going to be as slow as possible to make sure we get the concept in this place. Now, the passive membrane model is an electric circuit model of a patch of a neuron. And if you look at the figure I have here, this is just a patch of a neuron. This is the figure of a neuron. You have the patch. Remember I mentioned earlier, This is your dendrite with the arrows. They are taking input from other axon terminals of other neurons, okay? And these are inputs, okay? And this is the flow of signal, and this is the output of this particular neuron. We just pick a portion of this cell membrane, and that is where we have the passive membrane model. And this portion can actually be represented inside the axon as a CR, a capacitor, and the resistor, okay? And the current through this membrane and capacitor is actually what we can begin to look at as part of the signal that is flowing through this particular neuron. Okay, and you can see the flow as also indicated here. The assumption here for this particular passive membrane model is that there are no ion channels, okay, unlike what you have in the voltage-gated sodium or potassium channels, okay? The assumption is there is no active ion channels, okay? We are only looking at the passive electrical properties of the resistor and capacitor that are considered in this circuit, okay? So what are we modeling here? We have a capacitor that is representing the lipid bilayer that stores the charge, okay? I will show you what a capacitor is and how it stores charges in electrical circuit very shortly. Then we have the resistor R representing the ion channels that allows the current to leak out, okay? And again, we have the voltage source that we call a VRest, representing the resting potential membrane, okay? Now, looking at this circuit more represented now, the same circuit, but this time around, I've removed the neuron diagram. I'm representing it as a full circuit. And this is the circuit that will form the base of what I'll be talking about. So we have the capacitor here. Your capacitor is mainly made up of parallel plates. Is that okay? One is positively charged, one is negatively charged, okay? That is, one store negative charges, one store positive charges, okay? Then we have the resistor here. And then we have the potential that's actually attached to this resistor, okay? We call it Vrest, okay? The potential here. And then the potential that will also be across this resistor, we call it VR. By potential, I'm talking about the voltage drop across that resistor, okay? Now, then we have the external currents, okay? That is the external stimulus that is actually being sent to this circuit coming from, if you look at it, coming from these parts, okay? External. And then you have this coming in. And coming in through this place, when this external source gets here, it gets itself divided into two, okay? You're going to see the formula that we talk about that now, okay? Then look at it. Our cell membrane potential is actually the sum of what? The rest potential plus what? Plus the resistor, plus the potential that is actually dropping across the resistor. Okay. Now, looking at this, I want to quickly just demonstrate what a capacitor is. I'm using PhET interactive simulation capacitor model. The full URL to this can actually be found on this address below. You can access the simulation live online from phet.colorado.edu/English simulations/circuit construction kit AC. Okay, this simulation is live. Now, what I want to show you, I have a battery here, I have my capacitor here, and I have a bulb here. Capacitor usually stores charges. Basically, that is what it does. Now, see what happened here. If I drop this, I need to release this. Just a minute. Okay, so I can drop this. I'm closing the circuit and observe what will happen here. You can see I have my capacitor fully charged. Okay, next is that I will disconnect this. I will also disconnect this. Disconnecting it, you can see the charges that are still stored across both positive and negative are still there. Now, see what happened here. When I come to this place and connect it to a bulb, what happened? You can see the bulb lights up, and as the bulb lights up, you can see the charges are depleting until the charges are fully depleted. This is just a bigger picture of what your capacitor is. I store charges, and when you take it away from that, you actually have what is now known as when you connect it to battery, it charges and store energy. And when you disconnect it, the charges are stored there. And then you can discharge it through a bulb or through any resistor that might be connected to it. Okay, we can also display some other symbols here. Let me show you the values. Then I can display symbols. Let me remove these values first. So these symbols, get to know it. This is symbol for capacitor, circuit symbol, because we're going to deal with this. And then you also see the symbol for a potential, a battery source, a voltage source. Okay, now let's go on to the next slide. A moment, please. Okay, now, say having the circuit with us. Looking at this circuit that we are having, the capacitor I've shown you is two-place storing charges. And what does it represent? When we're talking about the biological interpretation of what we are representing, you have the lipid layer that is storing electrical charge. Okay, your resistor is simply limiting the current flow in electrical. This time around, it's serving as a leak channel that is allowing the ions to flow within that membrane channel. Okay, the external current is the injected current coming from outside, and like I mentioned earlier, it's actually the synaptic or the experimental input that may come from the electrode that you want to use to do your experiment. Okay, and then we have the VM, the voltage, the membrane potential. This one is difference in potential across the membrane, as you can see from this figure. So let's quickly go to the formulation of this of the membrane passive membrane model. Now, taking a look at this from electrical point of view, there is a law that is called the Kirchhoff's current law. And what does Kirchhoff's current law states? It simply states that any current entering a point in a circuit is actually equal to the sum of the current that will be leaving that point. I repeat, the sum of the current that we enter a point in a circuit is equal to the sum of the current that will leave that current. So if we consider this point as a point in this circuit, then applying the Kirchhoff's current law to this means that this current I is coming and is entering this point in this circuit. And that is why we write I external here. And the current that is leaving this point, of course, this IC is leaving this point. Okay? And that's why we're writing this IC. And then coming here again, coming here, we say that the current leaving this place is actually the same current that is coming to this place, which is IR. Okay? And so by implication, this simple expression here is expressing Kirchhoff's current law. And Kirchhoff's current law, like I stated, what does it say? It says that the sum of the currents that is entering a point in a circuit is equal to the sum of the currents leaving that point. So by implication, the current entering this point in this circuit is just I external. And the current leaving this point is IC and IR. Hence, we have this expression here as our what? I external plus I external is equal to what? IC plus IR. Okay? Next, law that is also very crucial is the capacitor law, and is given as this. I'm going to explain this in detail very shortly too. And the next one is the Ohm's law. I believe so many of us might know Ohm's law. Ohm's law states that the current that when a potential is applied across a wire, okay, that potential that is applied is directly proportional to the current that will flow in that wire. That is, V is directly proportional to what? To I that will flow in a wire. And the constant of proportionality will be the resistance of that wire. Okay? Meaning we can say that our V is equal to IR, which you can see expressly from here. That is, V here is equal to what? IR. Because we are concerned with what? This current I that is flowing through this. Okay? So please let's take note of this also. And the coming here, you can look at this expression that we have here, Vm minus V rest over R. I is our VR equals to Vm plus V rest. Coming back to this figure, the total potential from this point to this point is our Vm. So by implication, our Vm is equal to VR plus V rest. And if we do a simple calculation or simple substitution with our subject of the formula, we will see that our VR will be equal to what? Vm minus VR. Hence, we replace this VR with Vm minus VR in this particular expression. Okay, now, I said I'm going to explain this one more clearly. Now, like you saw in the a simulation I showed you earlier from FET's interactive simulation. The total charge that is stored in that capacitor is equal to the value of that capacitor, talking about its value in farad, multiplied by the potential that causes the charge to be stored there. Q is equal to CV, okay? And the current is given as what? The rate of change that is stored in that capacitor, the rate of change. By the rate of change, I mean the Q dt. When you see anything dt divided by dt, we're talking about the rates, okay? And so looking at this equation, if you substitute Q here, we have that our IC is equal to what? D dt C Vm, okay? This time around, we choose to bring Vm because we are dealing with what? Membrane potential. Are you with me? Now, I haven't been able to establish that. Then, next is, we can express this equation simply here that IC is equal to C, the Vm of dt, okay? And if you look at this is exactly what we have here and how we come about it. So these three equations are quite very essential to what we are discussing. And so, what do we do next? We simply substitute equation B, equation C into equation 1. And by the time we do that substitution, we replace IC here with C dVm dt, and we replace IR here with this latter part of this equation. And if we do that one, we have this equation here, which is actually what? The differential equation that describes the passive membrane model, okay? That's just the derivation. Now, if you need to work with this, how do you also deal with it? Okay, let me quickly introduce this tau, the time constant. Okay, looking at this, we can also simplify this expression further, okay, by simply keeping this one by one side, and then I will bring this to this other side. So I then have minus 1 over R Vm minus V rest. I'm not changing anything. If you look at this equation and this one, they are basically the same. It's just a matter of taking this one to the left side. Are we together? And I bring this one over R outside here, okay? And R plus I external. So this is what I've got in here. If I divide the whole of this through by C, I come up with this equation, okay? Now, my RC is defined as what? Tau, the time constant, okay? And then by the time we substitute time constant into this place, we come up with this expression, which is a widely used neuron model for the passive membrane model, okay? Now, going further, wow, time is fast gone. Okay, now, going further, we can also, let me just quickly skip. We can actually simulate this using Euler method numerically. That is what we'll be doing in Python or MATLAB, depending on the programming language of your choice, of course. We encourage Python a lot, and Dr. Peter has been teaching you largely on how you can do all of this. Okay, now, Euler method for you to be able to implement the passive membrane model. Okay, now, implementing it in Python, we plot this graph and we discover that the membrane potential, okay, is having this and is coming up here until it comes to this, but it didn't reach the point where it can actually spike a neuron. Quickly, we can also have this equation. Maybe you get to some textbook, you might see it in this form. You might see it in this form, okay? If you see it in this form, what that is suggesting is that going back again to this equation, time constant is already here. So let's just look at it. If I multiply the O of this equation by time constant, which is RC, if you multiply this by time constant, you get this first part, okay? Then multiplying this portion with time constant, the time constant will cross out and I'll be left with this, okay? If I multiply this one by time constant, which is RC, okay? Then I will be left with what? R, okay? R will be at the numerator here. Why C in the numerator, we cancel this in the denominator. So I will be left with what? I external R, okay? And since R, resistance, the inverse of resistance is conductance, which is G. Hence, we write G here because R is equal to 1 over G. That is how you can actually have this type of equation whenever you want to simulate. Okay, let's go to integrate and fire mode. I'm going to be very fast to just bring out it because the foundation is what I've just been able to lay. our time is already up, so I'm going to be fast. Now, integrate and fire model. This part is completely removed, okay? And then you are left with this part only. That is what you have there. Then coming further, I'm going to go to leaky, integrate, and fire. Leaky, integrate, and fire is also not too different from what we have. You have the passive membrane model, but this time around, you now have a condition that set the threshold for spiking, because what we are interested in is that there has to be a spike, okay? Now, we have, whenever the VM is greater than or equal to the threshold that you have set, then there will be a spike, and then your VM will be reset, okay? That is just the difference between that. So from passive membrane model, the only thing you need to do is to just set your threshold rule, okay? And this is exactly what I'm trying to also explain here. When there is a spike here, okay, there's going to be a reset, and the process continues again. You go through that loop again. Whenever this condition is met, the neuron will fire a spike, okay? And when that takes place, then your membrane potential resets, and the process continues again and again. What is the difference between these three models I've just talked about? Okay, look at it. This is the full expression here, but there's no spiking rule. In this place, this is the equation that you have there, and the spiking rule is applied. Okay, and then what about this? This is what you have, and then you have the spiking rule also applied. The generalized model, this time around, is just for you to now have an additional term. This additional term that you have here, okay, is called this after you have a spike, okay? Then we have a triggered adaptation current that comes into play. And all of this also helps to be able to modify your model to actually perform better. The whole idea is just for you to keep on improving your model to perform better than it will ordinarily. I think on this note, I will need to actually quickly round up. These are some of the simulation I created based on this lecture, and the link will be shared with you with a technical team that you can actually copy the code and look at the explanation I have in all of this. All of this, you have the adaptation current also being programmed into all of this. This is the link to the Colab file where you can look at some of the explanation I provided there, and you can also go ahead and actually look through and modify some of the parameters you have in that particular code, and then see how it varies with some of the explanation that are being given today. I think this might be the best time for me to just round up. I don't have the time, so you can do parameter tuning, whereby you can vary some of the parameter and see what the performance of the model will look like. Okay. Application area, of course. You have several application area, and then I think I showed you this neuron simulation from PhET Interactive simulation, so you can actually also explore that. So thank you. I think this is a nice time to stop. It's already 8:04. Sorry, we are eating into your time. I believe in the future we may have more time to be able to talk more on this. This is myself and Professor Larry Harbert back then in 2018 at South Africa, and then these are some of the pictures from that school. Like I said, these are some of my supporters, and I love to acknowledge them whenever I make any presentations. Okay. Also, you can access the original slide of this presentation from my GitHub account. The GitHub address is here. And thank you. As I end with this quote from Emily Dickinson: "The brain is wider than the sky." Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Professor Olayinka. That's a great one. Very great. You have really done so well, Prof. Within the time you have, you're able to cover everything. So detailed. Please, let's appreciate Prof. Let's appreciate Prof. You will not understand, or they will get to summer school, you not meet LIF neuron. It's a very wonderful lecture this evening. Thank you so much for all you that listen. Professor Olayinka, we appreciate you. You have done so well. You have done so. That's a fantastic lecture. Thank you so much, participants. We have we are actually eating to the time, like you said, 5 minutes. But that notwithstanding, those that have questions, please go ahead and ask Prof. Go ahead and ask your questions, please. Physics has become a gold standard for understanding how the brain works. Take it from me. Physics is the gold standard for understanding how the brain works. And just like he said, the brain is a very complex organ, very complex, and it is complexity. So we need complex approach to approach the brain, and that comes computational neuroscience, where you have different fields bringing their, their tools and the ideas to understand how the brain works. Thank you, Prof. Please, we need questions, please. Go ahead and ask your questions, please. It's a very good one. You can believe with me, it's a very good outing. Thank you so much, participants. Thank you, Dr. Peter. Thank you, Prof. Olayinka. Thank you, Jeffrey. You have done so well. I really appreciate all of you. So someone's hands up. Please go ahead and ask your question. You can unmute yourself. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Prof.
Thank you.
My question is, because of time, I have a lot to ask. Can we have access to your email or your phone number so that when we talk, we can reach out? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Definitely. So, Dr. Peter, please, our contact should be shared to all registered participants. But meanwhile, right, yes, I will still drop my phone number, my email on the chat now. Okay? So if you can pick it up, if Dr. Peter will send detail of affiliations and our contact to you. Thank you so much.
Any other question?
Then
please
maybe Dr. Peter will also include a LinkedIn details in the contact he will send to everybody.
Yeah, Prof. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. Sure. This is Comp Neuro Nigeria, CNN. So you are all welcome to Comp Neuro Nigeria. Be part of this organization. You'll be very happy. You will not regret it. It's going to take you to places. So go ahead and ask your questions, please. Any reaction, please, from participants, please. If you don't have reaction, please appreciate Dr. Peter and Prof. Olayinka. Please go ahead and do that. If you have anything to say, good, go ahead and appreciate them, please. And we also want that feedback. You tell us where we did not get it right. We can make adjustments. Tell us where we got it right. We can also, actually motivating us to do more. Go ahead and do that, please.
And Dr. Ibe, they can ensure that they fill out the...
please fill out the feedback form, please. Please, yes. We need that form. Yes, it's going to help us a lot. If you really want more of this in the future, let us know that you need it. Okay? And you also spread the good news, what you have benefited, so that others will learn. Next time we are going to organize a program like this, you also go to our link, our Comp Neuro website, and check the activities.
Dr. Ibe, there's a question here. There's a question by Chika Ojiako, and she wants to know how she can become part of us.
Okay. Please, how do we become members?
Okay.
Okay, Prof, respond to that, please.
I think my response to that is in the coming weeks, we'll be able to provide that information. That process is still ongoing. Definitely, when the time comes, we'll make it open, and definitely those who participated in this training are the first set of people we'll reach out to when we perfect that process. But meanwhile, I've also shared our website. You can look at our website and see the little we have there for now, and then we can take it up from there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Thank you for that answer. Thank you. Any other question, please? You go ahead and ask your questions. Okay, what is the name of the organization? The organization name is Computational Neuroscience Nigeria, Comp Neuro Nigeria, or CNN.
You can check our website for details too. The website is on the chat.
Short form is called CNN, Comp Neuro Nigeria.
You can see more about us on our website. Please feel free to visit.
So, are we good?
Yes, I think we are very, very good to.
Prof and Doctor, just one more thing.
Okay, great.
If you have reservations regarding sharing your images on our website, please reply our emails, because we might take some of these images and share them on our website. But if you have issues with that, please let us know.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. I think I'm not sure we have even been taking a picture. Please, if you can quickly on your video, it would be nice. We have some screenshots from this. We've been too busy with with academic content that we are not thinking about reporting. Please kindly share your camera so that we can actually have some nice shots. Please, that will really be very important for our record. Yes, please.
If you can.
Please, we are still waiting for many of us to on our camera, please. We're still waiting.
Oh, the host is not allowing us to share our camera.
Okay, please, host, permit everybody to be able to share their camera. Are you there, Heritage?
So as we share our cameras, just a quick one again. This is just the start of something very big. Okay, so if you are able to, learn these tools, you not only earn a living for yourself, but you'll be useful to the world. Please don't relent. Thank you.
Heritage, are you there? Okay, I think we can on our camera now. Great. So please, we can on our camera now, everybody. We are still waiting for so many of us to on our camera. Oh, I'm seeing wonderful, beautiful, handsome faces. It's nice to see your faces. We've just been connecting for the past 3 weeks and we are not even looking at each other's faces. It's nice to see these beautiful, wonderful, glorious, handsome faces.
Thank you, Prof.
It's nice to see every one of you. Oh, great. Okay, Oladune Eunice. Yes, I can see your face. It's bright where you are. Are you outdoor? You are inside? That's beautiful. So let's have some screenshots. Our host, are you doing that? Heritage.
I am working on that. Just give me a few seconds.
Okay, so many persons are not on their camera. Please help us by on your camera so that when we share this, it will be part of the historical moment that you were part of the pioneers of the Neuro Nigeria. Please share your camera. And like Dr. Peter mentioned, please, we intend to use this on our website and for promoting what we are doing. So if you have any objection to that, to sharing this, please, you let us know. Okay? So it's not going to be used for any commercial purpose, but for promoting what we're actually doing. While we are also doing that, so we can begin to take some quick comments from our technical team and our hosts as we are trying to round up. Jeffrey, I can see you are here. Thanks for your time. Thanks for the technical support. I believe you have a word for our participants. Yeah, someone is speaking, please.
Okay,
you can go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. So real quick, just maintain a good posture. So definitely this picture will be shared on our social media platforms, and definitely we seek your consent, and thank you so much for that. So just take a good posture. You can't really adjust lights so much anymore, but just make sure you're in the center of your screen, and I will be taking the picture shortly. So just maintain a light smile. I think that would be really appreciated. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so shortly I'll be taking a few pictures. That was one. Okay, that's great. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. A quick comment from Jeffrey.
I have a question, please. Are there students for Imbizo, the Imbizo new set? Are they here?
Okay, anybody participating in Imbizo? You've been selected for Imbizo. Wow.
Okay.
Yes. Can you speak to us?
Okay.
Your name?
I am Adela Yolufunto.
Okay. So from where? Which school?
From Lautech.
From Lautech. Oh, great. So you will be in Muzenberg in January. Wow.
January, yes.
That's great.
So do you have something to tell us your experience so far?
Yes, it's been great, and this is really an exposure. It's really a start for me, but it goes a very long way to expose me to the world of computational neuroscience.
Oh, beautiful.
And I've not rested since then.
That's good.
Yes, I appreciate that. That rest, commitment is a key, okay? Just keep doing it, because Python is just like mathematics. When it leaves you, it leaves you. So just go ahead. Any other person from going to Imbizo? Do you have any other candidates to Imbizo this 2026? Okay. Okay, that's fine.
Okay, we don't have any other person. Okay.
Yeah, I don't have any other person. So, Prof.
Again. The foundation has been laid. We will also like to encourage you that when the next call comes around, please try to apply for some of these schools, whereby you can actually have a more immersive physical experience with some of this training. Okay. We have been able to lay the foundation, and we have opened your eyes to some of the beauty and the benefits that you can actually derive from this. So I believe each and every one of us can take it up from where we are now and take it to next higher level. Maybe also in the coming days, we might be creating a social media handle, whereby maybe a WhatsApp group, if that works for us, so that we can have maybe a means where we can actually disseminate some quick information that may be helpful to this network, because definitely we are building a network already, and I believe we are starting on a very good note. So I think time is fast moving. Let's just take some quick comment from all the technical teams, and then maybe a parting words. For me, I want to say thank you to everyone. I want to say it's been a nice time meeting each and everyone in this particular 3 weeks program. And I'm open and I'm willing to actually connect with each and every one of you. Let's see how we can collaborate and work together and take research to the next level. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you, Prof. Dr. Peter, please. We want to hear from you, Dr. Peter.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. I wish we had more time. I wish Prof had 1 week to teach us.
Yeah.
And all that. I wish we had 1 month to do Python. But we set the ground rolling. God bless you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Peter. Jeffrey, are you around? Hello.
Jeffrey, yes.
Yes, I am on. Thank you to the professors, Professor Olayinka and Professor Peter. Listening to Professor Olayinka teach was reminding me of university days. Some great memories. A lot of impactful information. I definitely learned Ohm's law and Ketchup's law from Professor Olayinka back in the day. So yeah, these are just amazing materials that we're being exposed to. So my advice is just keep working hard, just keep working on it. Like Professor Peter said, it's an opportunity to bring value to yourself and to the world. And there's just a whole lot of knowledge here, and I wish you all the best. Thank you, our superintendent, and I don't remember her name, but thank you so much,
Dr. Chinagorom.
Dr. Chinagorom, yes. Thank you so much for handling things in such a smooth way, making it possible for everyone to feel involved, heard, and made it easy for people to assimilate the content. So very much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeffrey. You're welcome. So
Heritage.
Heritage, please.
Yeah. So hello everyone. Thank you once again for joining this training. It's really been a great time. Great thanks to our facilitators as well, Professor Olayinka, Dr. Peter, and Dr. Chinagurum. It's really been a great time and a great experience learning from your wealth of knowledge that you've gained over the past few years or decades, as the case may be. Definitely look forward to exploring computational neuroscience myself, and that's my encouragement to everyone within the room as well. You know, this is just the seed. Do a lot with it, and basically they say the sky is your starting point, right? Yeah. So cheers to doing greater stuff, and thanks once again. So the links to the recordings for the first sessions are already available, and this session is already available as well. So whichever channel through which you got this meeting notification, you will definitely get the YouTube recordings through that as well. So thank you so much for that. I really appreciate. The slides as well from our participants will also be available as well. From our facilitators will also be available as well. And definitely look forward to engaging with you post the event as well. So I will be dropping the feedback form once again in the chat box as well. So you can tell us about your feedback and let us know exactly how you feel about this and how we can improve in coming times. Thank you so much. I remain Heritage, my humble self. Thank you.
Thank you, Heritage. That's a wonderful one. Please, can we hear from one of the participants?
Yes, any of the participants?
Just one person. Tell us how you feel, please. Yeah.
Good evening, Dr. Gachi. This is Aisha. And good evening, Professor Olayinka. Good evening, Dr. Peter. Good evening, everyone, once again. I'm Aisha, and I'm glad to be part of this training. I've met Professor Olayinka and Dr. Gachi earlier this year at the BRTC Computational Neuroscience.
Yeah.
And
Wow, that's quite interesting.
Yes, thank you so much for the teaching. Actually, this section is actually like a refresher once again for what we learned back then at the summer school. I really appreciate. Thank you so much for bringing this together
Beautiful.
for us. Thank you so much for making it so seamless, and I look forward to more of this and also more engagement with the Computational Neuroscience Nigeria group in the coming days. Thank you so much once again, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you. You have all spoken well. Thank you, Professor Olayinka, in a very special way. Thank you, Dr. Peter. I appreciate you in a very special way. Thank you, Jeffrey and Heritage. You have done awesome. You have done very well. Thank you, all the participants, for honoring this. We appreciate you all. So you keep trying, never stop. As far as you have the dream, the desire, you get to that destination. I appreciate you all. So don't give up. For those of you going to Imbizo, I wish you all the best. For those of you wishing for summer school, I believe this is going to be an open door for you to apply for summer school. At least the little knowledge you have today, you can actually tell them that you can code in Python, and that forms the basis. So I appreciate all of you. Good night. You have done so very well. God bless you all. Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Prof. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
I cite you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mommy. Good evening, Ma.
How are you?
Love. Good evening. Love you. Take care of yourself, okay?
Yes, I Yes, Ma.
God
Bye-bye,
bless
Ma.
you.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.